Hi, ladies. What a joy it is to stand before you today. I'm incredibly thankful for the Hills Church, and so many of you have become my dear friends over the years and prayer warriors. I had the privilege of being in the Gather group this year with Diane Smith and Ginger Painter, and Ginger asked me to share some of my story tonight. I was born and raised in the Churches of Christ in Sugar Land, Texas, near Houston, and always a part of the Churches of Christ. I went to ACU where I met the love of my life, Jordan Taylor Bunch. He was teaching the college Sunday morning class at church, and we quickly became friends and started dating at the end of my first semester of college. And then we got engaged October of my sophomore year. I think we have a picture of him proposing up here, yes, at the end of the homecoming parade. We didn't waste any time, and we got married after my sophomore year, 6.5 months later in 2009. Next, God led us to Austin, where we worked in an apartment ministry for a couple of years. And when the apartment complex was bought out by an atheist who didn't want a Christian couple running their events, we decided to buy our first house. I think we have a picture of that too, in Pflugerville, near Austin in 2015. We had a 1-year-old Annabelle and a bun in the oven. So let's jump ahead 5 years. A lot of time passed, some diapers were changed, life was pretty full. I had just started back to work part-time as a speech-language pathologist in March of 2020, and I felt this lump on the left side of my neck. March 2020, the world was shutting down. Didn't really feel like I wanted to go to a doctor and get it checked out right then. So waited a few months, and in July, it seemed like the bump was still growing. It never hurt, but I went ahead to go make an appointment with the doctor, and then I had a sonogram and then a biopsy. And on October 19th of 2020, I got the diagnosis that I had stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Even though I wasn't having pain or any other symptoms, the PET scan revealed that I had cancer in my neck, underarms, abdomen, and groin. So the oncologist explained that it's an advanced blood cancer, and it's inoperable and incurable. So to prolong my quality of life, the oncology team had me on watch and wait for 3 years, just doing blood work and feeling for the spots to make sure there wasn't change or growth. 4 months after that, in March of 2021, after that big, huge ice storm, we moved from Pflugerville, near Austin, to Keller. We quickly plugged in at the Hills. So in March of 2023, I felt a large spot grow on my neck very suddenly. We were driving down my cousin's wedding in Houston. As you know, you kind of passing back a snack to the kids. I kind of turned and thought, oh, what is that bump? At that time, I switched to a more specialized oncologist, and she insisted that I start chemotherapy right away. And this is one of the first times in my life where I felt like I had lost all control. I felt scared, mad, and really did not want to do chemo. All I could imagine was laying in bed and just being like a zombie for a year, not being able to be with my kids and my husband, and I just really couldn't wrap my mind around that. My husband researched lots of options for cancer treatment, and Jordan found what we felt like was the best option for me, a 3-week program in Tijuana, Mexico for immunotherapy. I think we have a picture next. My neck tumor shrunk while we were there. And so we really felt like all the vitamins and infusions, things they were doing there was treating the cancer. So the next picture you can just see was kind of what I was doing, just sitting in a chair, getting IVs all day long of all these vitamins and cancer-fighting substances. So we got home after being away from the kids for 3 weeks, and that summer I would have these weird pains that would shift to another area each week. And I thought that this was just the treatment working because I had cancer in different spots, so I was told that it could just be the treatment going to different areas. I knew I had a PET scan in 90 days, so we just went on with life and enjoying summertime with the kids. At the end of July, I started having some really intense pain in my chest, and then it spread to my side. And in August, the pain was so bad that at night, I I couldn't go to sleep, and I just had pain that was really bad. And even with morphine, sometimes it wouldn't go away. So September 5th is when I had my next PET scan that revealed the cancer actually had spread. It was now stage 4. It had spread to my bones, which explained why there had been so much more pain. So my oncologist insisted that I start chemo the very next week. And I was fearing the cancer would spread my organs, what's next was pretty unknown and scary. So if I felt out of control of my life before, this was next level. I was so mad. I remember crying in the shower and just asking God, why? Why? I've gone to church since I was 2 weeks old. I was the girl who made the good choices. I followed all the rules. I've served at church. I've tried to be a good friend. Why was he letting this happen to me? And my husband? And my kids? Why would he want my kids to go through their life without their mom? I had a lot of questions, but I was desperate to live. And thankfully, just a few days later was a women's conference. If you haven't been, you gotta go. It's always such a powerful time in September. So right after the scan, I went to the women's conference at the Hills. And during worship that day, I heard God say to me, I will heal you. Now, it's easy to question what God tells us sometimes, right? Like, is that really God? Or am I just making up in my head what I want to hear? I didn't tell my husband, my friends. I really didn't tell anyone because I just didn't know what the future would hold. I sure wanted to believe that he was going to heal me, but I just didn't know what was going to happen. I knew he could heal me. I totally believed he could, but he hadn't healed me yet, and we'd been praying. So the next morning, the Lord woke me up early, like 4 a.m. I went and I sat on my couch. I was telling God all the reasons I didn't want to do chemo and asking him all these questions. And then I felt like he said to me very clearly, you need to do the chemo next. This is the plan I have for you. And after that, I had peace about it. I was still a little scared, not sure what would exactly go along with all that, but I had this peace that passes understanding. So 6 rounds of chemo, September through January. Those were some long months, but the Lord was faithful to surround me with amazing friends and family and church family. They cooked meals for us, lots of meals. They did laundry, right, Mom? Lots and lots of laundry. Helped homeschool my kids, supported us emotionally in so many ways. And I've said so many times, I would never wish cancer on anyone, but I wish that everyone could feel that level of support and closeness I felt during that time from so many of you, so many family, neighbors, and friends reaching out. So I did it, 6 rounds of chemo. I felt like I'd crossed the biggest finish line of my life. Check that off the calendar. And then 2 weeks later, I felt a bump pop up in the exact same spot it had before. Evidently, my cancer was chemo refractory. So actually, the chemo had done a lot. It had gotten rid of most of the cancer in my body, just not in this left neck spot. And my oncologist scheduled a biopsy because she wanted to see if it had morphed into a different kind of cancer. So I had the biopsy done in February, and my oncologist confirmed it had transformed to a more aggressive kind of cancer called diffuse large B cell. And this kind is fast. Our world is so loud. A couple weeks ago, I was walking at night in my neighborhood. Right when I opened the front door, the cicadas and the locusts were louder than I'd ever heard them in my whole life. And it made me think about how my mind feels so bombarded all the time by noise, by ideas, by images, to-do lists, all pulling at my attention so much throughout the day. And I asked God, why is the world so loud? And he answered me, so that you can appreciate the quiet. Is it hard for you to make time to be quiet? Anybody? It's really hard for me sometimes. When I was in high school, I had marching band practice, my mom cooked dinner, get a shower, do my homework, and then I had a journal, and I was really consistent about sitting there and reading a verse, writing it down, praying. But now my quiet time with God looks really different. Sometimes it's in the shower, sometimes it's going on a walk after the kids are in bed. And most often this summer, it's been at my kitchen table. My kids are a little older now, 6, 8, and 9, and after breakfast, we've been writing down a verse, sometimes when I remember, and we're spending some time reflecting on it and asking God, what does he want to teach us today? And when I was asking God, what does he want me to share with you ladies? One of the things I heard was, God is calling us back to our homes. He's calling us to find purpose in our daily relationships. Our family, our coworkers, whoever you're around, that's on purpose, designed by him. Because our words and our actions matter. Our heart posture and our thoughts matter to our roommates, our spouses, and to the next generation. What we are doing now in our moments of quiet matters. It matters for us and for the futures of those around us. So I have a question for you. How are you preparing for your future? How are you spending your quiet moments? I'm forever grateful that my mother-in-law, Belinda Bunch, invited me to go to Bible study with her back in 2013, right after I graduated from college. If you don't hear anything else tonight, I think this is the most important. I started consistently going to a Bible study when my kids were small, and I believe with God's compassion and his kindness that he used this block of time, these years, to prepare my heart and mind for this battle that I would have later with lymphoma by just being obedient to studying his word in this little stretch of time. Just carving out for him that time each week to be with other women. And the Bible study would have some homework. So throughout the week, sometimes one day I'm cramming it all in. Sometimes I'm better about spreading it out. But a few years ago in this Bible study, I had this shift from a head level to a heart level knowledge of the sovereignty of God. The understanding that God is over all things. His timing is always perfect. Even when it doesn't make sense to us, God is over all the circumstances of our life. And this gave me the peace I needed to make it through this battle with cancer. So, how are you preparing for your future battles? Another powerful lesson I learned from studying the Old Testament with others was that God changes his mind. I love the story in the Old Testament how God wants to destroy the evil city of Nineveh. But people prayed and God changed his mind. The God of the universe is always with us and he doesn't leave us. So I believe because of the power of prayer, God changed his mind in my own life. I think we have one more picture. When the pain of cancer was unbearable and spreading to my bones, God was there. There was a night of worship in this room in February, held on my behalf. I had 101 fever, a lymphoma symptom, and I was in a lot of pain, so I wasn't there, but God was listening. I was really upset and frustrated I couldn't be there, but I will forever be grateful for the many prayer warriors, so many of you in this room, who asked God over and over to change his mind about the cancer consuming my body. Then this March, I got a new treatment called CAR T-cell therapy, and my cells were sent off to a lab and taught how to kill the cancer, and they came back, and those cells were inserted into my body March 25th, a week before Easter. After a 9-day hospital stay, I was released to go home, and it was one of the happiest days of my life, a day I will never forget. And my PET scan 30 days later, no evidence of disease. And my scan at 90 days later in June, no cancer at all. Praise be to our powerful God, our protector, our shield, and our rock.